Okay, here we go. Hi, I'm Anna Seacat with Socially Minded Marketing. I'm here at the Lexington Whole Foods Market with Kelly and Beile, and she's the marketing team leader for this store. Actually, is it for this store? Is it for this region, or?
It's throughout Central Kentucky.
I wondered. Okay, so you cover Louisville too.
We have a marketer in Louisville,
Okay.
but they stay more in like kind of that side of southern Indiana.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to talk to Kelly about how she uses Twitter within her marketing campaign. But I first want to share with you what brought me here today and why I wanted to interview you. And it's good, okay? So don't be nervous. A while back, I interviewed some teens from Henry Clay High School, which is a local high school here, and probably the biggest high school in Lexington. And I was asking them about their Twitter usage. And I was shocked when I asked them, what local businesses do you follow? Do you know what their answer was?
Really?
Whole Foods Market.
Wow.
And that's quite a compliment. It's a very good compliment because, for one, they relate Whole Foods Market to a local business, which in marketing is kind of like the holy grail because Whole Foods, as everyone knows, is corporately owned, but they relate it as theirs. It's their Lexington Whole Foods Market. So that was really revealing to me. But the second thing that I couldn't stop thinking about was they follow a grocery store. And so I wanted to meet the person behind who got teens at Henry Clay High School to follow them. So I guess that's why I'm here. And I have a few questions that I hope you can answer. If we get to something, I don't know how marketing works in Whole Foods. So if we get to something you're uncomfortable with, just say pass and we'll move on.
Okay.
So first, I think where all good marketers should start is, what are the marketing objectives that you see Twitter helping you accomplish?
Well, I think you kind of spoke to it already. If Henry Clay students feel that this is a local business, because we have a local Twitter account, we have a local Facebook page, and that's the marketing behind Whole Foods corporate, is that each individual store has a marketer on site, and that's very unique for any type of retailer.
Okay.
To have a marketing team leader or specialist who can control the individual market.
That's so true because they didn't say their local Target or their local Best Buy, but they said their local Whole Foods, and so you think it probably has a lot to do with the fact that you guys have a corporate Whole Foods Market Twitter page, but you have a local one.
Correct.
Okay.
I'd say definitely.
Okay. So you use it. So would you say your main marketing objective is just to speak to your local market with Twitter?
I think so, and obviously I feel very fortunate that I am native to this area, born and raised, even though I went away for 2 years and came back. So that gave me a lot of insight into seeing maybe the trends that are going on online. I also got my MBA from the UK here in 2007.
Okay.
So doing not just Twitter where it's fun, but it's strategic for the business is certainly very exciting.
Okay, cool. So we talked a little bit about high school students following you, but do you, to a certain extent, listen to Twitter or follow your followers to kind of shape who is your customer? What do they look like? I mean, what customer segmentation have you gotten out of Twitter?
Sure. Well, certainly when I'm talking about beer events, we get a lot of response from the young professional male.
Okay.
And this past Wednesday, we did Hump Day celebrity sightings at Whole Foods Market. And that was certainly, all the females answered those questions.
Okay.
So it certainly varies. The interactions, I think, are predominantly female, but you see that on our insights from Facebook as well.
Okay.
That's just the shopper demographic that every retailer is acquainted with. So.
Okay. You mentioned the celebrity sightings. So does Whole Foods Market Corporate give you those ideas, or are those just yours?
That one was mine.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And the pictures weren't completely where you could tell who it was. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're kind of like the B-list or something.
Yeah.
So,
So the pictures weren't here.
no.
Okay.
But
Have you ever done that before, like a local celebrity?
Well, what's interesting, and people would be really shocked, and we honestly probably protect our celebrities more when they come to our store here
Sure.
than anything else, but besides working at Staples Center in Los Angeles, I've seen more celebrities at this Lexington Whole Foods Market than any other job I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah. We have a comedy club downstairs, and I will tell you that 2 weeks ago, and then we have people that come through that are not affiliated with the comedy club. 2 weeks ago, Colin Farrell was in the store. I kid you not.
kidding.
And we could have tweeted about it, and I thought about it, but then I was like, well, I'm it's kind of odd and protective a little bit. So we stayed away from that one. But for example, the Wayans brothers, they were at the comedy club downstairs, and they were up here a ton shopping, and they tweeted about us. And there was some opportunity there. It was actually kind of it was supposed to be a funny tweet, but it was a little offensive to some communities, and it was picked up by the news. But all in all, it was all crisis veiled.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because being a part of social media is risky, and there's risk involved. How do you mitigate that? I mean, how do you, just like you were saying?
I think I honestly just go back to my sort of training in public relations.
Okay.
And being able to talk on the fly, because honestly, when their tweet came out and it was something that wasn't exactly positive for the business, and it wasn't within an hour that the news station showed up to interview and say, your thoughts on this, what's going on.
So they're obviously following you too.
Yes, I've actually tweeted about the store, or some different retailers that were coming to our shopping market, or our shopping center here, and I tweeted about that and kind of got in trouble with the marketing mall manager because it was like, we haven't announced that yet.
Our thunder.
And to me, I was like, but if you announced it to when in the room, it's announced.
That's right.
And that's there's still so much more opportunity, because it is supposed to be so grassroots, and like you want it to be fresh and hot, but I still kind of get my hands smacked every now and then.
But that's interesting, because, and I do too, sometimes when I even blog about something, I've had people say, well, why did you say that? I think that if anyone's talking about you, it's a good thing. And I think companies, big corporations, sometimes they're so used to editorial control.
Yes.
And so so I've learned now to just go straight to the horse's mouth and interview people rather than just analyzing their marketing on my own. Although even grad students, which I am, like, if a grad student's analyzing your marketing, that's great.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't be scary, but sometimes it can be.
Yeah.
So you have a big tribe, like 2,600 followers?
I think so. I think that's about where we're at right now.
Did you grow that, or did you inherit it? You grew that.
No, I grew that, and I actually have been here 3 years.
Wow.
And we weren't required to do this by global or our region, and they certainly don't keep any statistics on their own. But I have tracked my Twitter growth over the past 3 years as compared to the other 3 stores that are closest to us.
Yes.
And most recently, I think it was about 2 months ago, in those 3 years, we've seen about a 260% growth. Wow. But our other stores have seen 80% or 40%.
So what's your key? What's your secret?
I think, I've also been fortunate to go and talk to some local groups like the Lexington Green Drinks, or and I talk about green social marketing. And so it befuddles me still to this day that people link their Twitter and their Facebook together. And I've also tried to have conversations sometimes on Twitter, and I never get a response from that person. And it might be that they're linked. They don't really know how to use Twitter. They're supposed to be on it, but if you're not using it appropriately, then you don't. It's almost
There's a disconnect.
There's a disconnect. And so if my point is that the answer is to have a conversation.
Okay,
sure.
That's huge. So because you're not just shouting at your customers, you're conversing with them.
Absolutely.
And I think that I agree with that. That's the key to social media, and where a lot of people do fail. So what technology, since you are conversing with them, is it only you?
It's only me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have any special tweeters. When you see a tweet coming from the store, it's Kellyanne.
It's me. So sometimes,
amazing.
when I'm bored at night, it might be midnight, I'm watching TV. I've got the store pays for my cell phone, so that's good.
You are getting a great value, Whole Foods Market.
So it's fun to keep it fresh and fun, and we go out and I'll go to events around town. They're community events, and it's fun to talk about what's going on in the local community.
And that has to be why you've attracted 2,664, I think, as of 12:50 today. So in 3 years you've attracted, and you have to know that 2,664 people following the Lexington Whole Foods Market are local Lexington people. And so that's really impressive. And one of my questions was, how many people are on your Twitter team?
This one, that's it. so cute.
So you have to be, you have to have those, some kind of technologies or programs that you use. Because you couldn't possibly follow Twitter 24 hours a day, and you might miss people mentioning you or...
True, and I will say, like, some of the recipes, I am able to sit down and, like, have a list of recipes that come from our local office. So I might pick 5 of those.
Okay.
Not always, because I think, you know, if you do just that, then you're missing the cultural component of what's local here, and talking about food with bourbon, or talking about, you know, things that are coming up around Derby.
Yeah.
So it's used very sparingly, but some of those are uploaded through Hootsuite.
Okay. Is Hootsuite the only technology you're using to track Twitter?
It is right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're also just got involved with Spreadfast.
Okay.
That's something that we're trying to, as a company, get over to.
Is that CRM or is that...
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know a whole lot about
Okay.
that. I'm so comfortable using what I'm using.
Yeah.
It's hard to make the switch.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going 30 miles an hour. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Because you don't only have Twitter, you also have Facebook. What else are you using?
I have a personal Instagram account
Okay.
that I use. We've been told for the stores to not have their own Instagram account, but then some do. And so I've just kind of kept it like using hashtags in my own personal one. So
Okay.
we tweet about it.
Does Whole Foods make you kind of hide behind that Twitter picture, or have you ever come forward and said, I'm a tweeter, I'm Kellyanne, or is there...
I have not.
Okay.
I think it says in the explanation, the bio, that the tweets are coming from the marketing team leader.
Yeah, it does.
But no, I've never been like, hey, meet the girl behind the
Okay.
tweet. Yeah, so of course, certainly on my personal Twitter account, which I don't spend nearly as much time on
How could
for
you have
obvious
time?
reasons, I always say, follow my alter ego. She's a lot more outspoken and fun. So.
That's fun. So, I was going to ask you, you didn't know who on your team sent a specific tweet, but it's just you. Is there someone watching Twitter around the clock?
You know, I make sure to check it every day.
Okay.
So I might miss a day or two, but there's certainly, everyone's being responded to rather quickly, and everyone's being
it
responded
is. I
to.
can tell. Yeah. So the categories, again on your bio, it says that you tweet about sales, events, nonprofit, and partnerships that you have with nonprofits. What is the bulk of your tweets, do you think?
I'm going to say right now that it's a lot of recipes
Okay.
and sales information.
Okay.
And then mixing in the fun. The events, I know we're doing events here. We have 3 events here every week for sure.
Yeah. And do you do that too?
I do have a gal who kind of works as a marketing assistant in regards to setting up what the theme for the events is going to be, as well as setting up the actual event.
Okay.
So it certainly helps.
Yeah.
But I'm usually here during those times to take pictures or put that out there.
Right. Yeah, because your last tweet was about the ice cream social here from 2 to 4 on Saturday, right? So, and those are the type of things I can tell you that my kids get excited about. I know there's a lot of kids. I mean, I think Whole Foods, one of the things that they do really well is incorporate kids. We get flack if we go to another grocery store because they don't have the carts.
Oh, the baby carts, yes.
And that's for
That
them,
was my
it's
idea
huge.
too. They were such a hit. I was like, we have to have these for the kids. Yeah.
Oh, and they'll complain if we go anywhere else. They know as soon as we get in the parking lot. No, the carts
That's
aren't
good or
here."
bad. I'm sorry.
No, it adds to the experience. In fact, they asked me not to grocery shop after this interview because they want to come. So if you're making my kids happy, I'm happy. What guidelines do you have for posting and responding to tweets? I mean, are there corporate guidelines that you have to follow?
I think a lot of times it's just common sense. Once in a blue moon, you know, we might get something. We did something not too long ago, or maybe this week, where it was, you know, you retweeted us, we would donate. I think it was $2 to the Lexington Humane Society.
Yes.
And that particular tweet got about 485 retweets. So we went ahead and donated the full $1,000 to the Lexington Humane Society. But within that conversation, I had one Twitter person say, you know, why don't you just donate the money instead of pondering your retweets? And I think I got another one that said, how many retweets does it take to make a living wage? You know, and I could respond to those, but then you're just drawing attention to it. an individual, feeling like they can have a conversation with us,
Yeah.
for sure. So,
And if you think about it, how much publicity the Humane Society got.
yeah.
So
They called and were very, very thankful. And she knew that within I think the first hour that went live, that she had maybe 50 new people following her.
Right.
So it was a win-win.
And if you would have just written the check, they wouldn't have had any of that publicity. So
Right.
it is a form of advertisement. Although I can see how some community members may misinterpret your intentions.
Sure.
So
It's for profit.
that brings me to my last question. Is not quite my last, but one of my last is: do you, as a marketer, fellow marketer, do you wish we could go back ever? Do you wish that that all social media was taken away? Because when you use social media, there's so much more transparency. And corporations can't hide behind their corporate facade. And when you talk with the community, now all of a sudden the community kind of owns you. So do you ever get that feeling like, I wish I didn't, I wish I didn't have to deal with this side of marketing?
Not sure fully understand.
Well, there's a lot of discussion out there among marketers that the days of traditional marketing communications are over, and that our worlds, our time is all driven to social media. And if that's the case, is there ROI on that, or was there more? Did we get more return from traditional marketing?
One thing, traditional marketing costs a lot more money, right? I mean, I guess that's one thing I would say with social media being free. I don't ever see kind of returning to those old days. I think admin style is what you're talking about. Like, that's the first image that pops in my head. And that's no good.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. I'm up to the challenge and seeing where it's going to go next. And I certainly think that video is the next thing. You're seeing a lot more. And so I just had my short team leader give me a Mac. I'm like, I need a Mac. We need to start shooting video and putting more video on our social media channels. So I can start there.
No, that's good. That's good. Do you have any future goals set for just specifically your Twitter account?
Well, to give you the inside scoop, right now we are in the middle of a digital acquisition campaign. It's a 2-week campaign that's run by Global.
Okay.
You'll see that that's kind of some of the push of what's going on. For full transparency issues, we have these 2 weeks. It ends on Saturday for us to increase our Twitter followers, Facebook followers, and our newsletter sign-ups.
Okay.
We've done. I don't think they did this last year, but the year before that, we got first runner-up in regards to increasing our Twitter followers.
I was going to say they do reward you.
Yes. And so at that time, I received $500 on a Visa card, and then our store received $500.
Great.
So for the digital acquisition this time around, they're going to average everything together and look at that growth, and then the store receives $1,000, which we can put a new TV in a team member break room, or have a store party, or go bowling, or something like that. But they'll also give us $1,000 to go to a charity of our choice.
Oh, wow.
So that's the fun thing about what's going on now.
That is fun.
And for our halftime report, which came out on halftime, it would have been this past Saturday.
Yeah.
They did break it down between newsletters, Facebook, and Twitter. And our Twitter growth within that first week was second in the world, because we have locations over in London. And the Kensington store, which is in London, England, was first. So
and Lexington, Kentucky was second.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Kelly.
so that was exciting. And that was okay, I'm going to keep going.
That's, of course, that's better than the $1,000.
I know, right?
Yeah. Wow. So your Twitter growth was second in the entire world, only to Kensington.
Yes. And they have something. Well, I don't know how many people they have.
That's last question. Do you maintain? I'm sure you've heard a lot about content marketing. Content is king, so to speak. Do you generate any of your own content, like a blog or something that you then tweet about?
I did, but they actually changed our interface for our website, because each store has its own website as well that we maintain.
Okay.
And they changed that, and they took away our our blogging. So I thought that was really unfortunate.
Yeah,
But
that's interesting.
It's on my list of things to do. Certainly, is to maybe just have something off the side of the website.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that we get back into it.
Because for this interview, you and I were discussing about how your employees really do live the Whole Foods way. And so for me as a customer, I think it would be really interesting to hear how they live and how they incorporate the store into their lives and their recipes and their experiences and stuff. And even funny, cute things.
Yeah,
in
and
the
you know,
store.
maybe that's what we do with the videos, that we start just vlogging.
Yeah, there you go.
Instead of
Just
going
make
back
sure
to
you
the
write about it, right? And below it, search engine marketing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, and it's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you
so much.
It was very nice meeting you.
Yeah, and so we will have all of this, a transcript from this interview on sociallymindedmarketing.com, and we'll have the video of the interview on YouTube too. Thanks so much.
Whoops.